Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure for me to be part of this session. My presentation is on the Arab region, what's happening there, the main characteristics, the main challenges, and what needs to be done to enhance the resilience of Arab cities. When we look at the Arab region, it includes 22 Arab countries, 10 in Africa and 12 in West Asia. We have the six rich oil producing countries, we have six least developed countries, and then we have the 10 medium income countries in the Mashriq and the Maghreb. 56% of the population live in cities, and this ratio is expected to increase to 68% in 2050. Urbanization has been driven by economic development, migration to the oil-rich countries, drought, and conflict-driven displacement. The growth has been around the primary cities in each country, but now it is also around the secondary cities. The governments aim to have a balanced, equitable development between the different regions in the countries. But for sure, access to services is better in the urban than in the rural area. There is a real problem with the supply of affordable housing. This is a problem in the Maghreb and Mashriq countries, in the least developed countries, but in the oil-producing countries, this is no problem. But they have a problem of providing housing to the low-income foreign workers. The private sector has a real role in providing housing for the upper income levels in all the countries of the region, but this has not been the case for the lower and middle income households. There is a real problem of providing housing because of lack of adequate finance mechanisms. In the middle income Arab countries, in the Mashriq and Maghreb countries, the low income groups, they tend to live in informal settlement, and we can see that even from the upper income groups, every now and then households drop for different reasons, and they have to live in informal settlement. And if we would like, I think the informal settlement ratio is a bit higher than the poverty ratio for this reason. However, the situation is much worse in the least developed Arab countries, and the informal settlements there are in a very precarious situation. Countries, also the Mashriq countries, they have also an additional problem because they house 50% of the world's registered refugees, and those living in the refugee camps face severe conditions. But there has been efforts from several Arab countries to upgrade the informal settlement and to provide affordable housing. Tunisia has a very good experience in this respect, has eliminated informal settlements to a large extent, and Morocco also has a very good program for affordable housing. And these are good examples for other Arab countries to follow up. Also within the region, new cities are being built as centers of excellence for innovation, technology, and research. And I believe that Masdar City in Abu Dhabi is a very good example, which aims at zero CO2 emissions. Where there has been difficulty for the governments to provide services, especially for the poor, the civil society organizations have been playing an increasing important role. When we look at the major challenges faced by the cities, I think the preservation of the cultural heritage is a real challenge because it's really threatened by the high rate of growth of the urban population. Also, the provision of affordable and decent housing continues to be a major challenge, and this also results in a steady growth in informal settlements. When we look at the population, 53% are under the age of 25. So this also adds to the pressures on the urban systems. They require jobs and also affordable housing. Also, urban solid waste is still a major problem in many cities of the region. Added to this, we have the impacts of climate change. The Arab region is one of the most vulnerable regions of the world to potential impacts of climate change. At present, the Arab region has the lowest water per capita in the world, and all these adds to the has negative repercussions on the sustainable development process. Climate change will increase water scarcity and the frequency of the severe drought. Because when we look at the region, it is a dry region that is getting drier, and I think we have to learn to live with drought. This drought also will impact agriculture productivity by 10 to 40%. We'll have to depend more on food imports. At present, the region imports 70% of its food requirements, and the food trade deficit is over 30 billion US dollars. Drought is already felt in the region. What's happened in Darfur is a clear example. And in the last 3 or 4 years, there has been a severe drought in Syria, which led to the migration of 1 million people to informal settlements around the major cities. It's expected that the temperature will increase by 3 centigrades by 2050. And with the urban heat island effect, nighttime temperature will increase by an additional 3 centigrades. All these together with the fact that the region has a high solar radiation and soils that tend to absorb more the heat and to store it, the region will be facing more extreme temperatures. Flash flooding is also a major concern in the region because as a result of concrete surfaces that do not absorb water, also for inadequate drainage system, and for the increasing construction in low-lying areas. Climate change will increase the risk from this hazard further because of more intense rainfall events or extreme rainfall events. In addition to that, when you look at the region, 70% of the population live along the 37,000 kilometer coastline in low-lying coastal areas. This means that any sea level rise will affect the region's densely populated coastal cities, will affect the economic, industrial, and business centers, including the oil production facilities in the oil-producing countries because they are on the coastline or offshore. That's why we look at the climate change, that it will have significant and largely negative impacts on the cities in the Arab world, will raise the cost of living, and also will have a destabilizing effect on the Arab region more than what's happening right now from the Arab Spring. When we look at the actions to build the resilience of the Arab cities, there are 2 sets of actions. The 2 sets for their implementation for sure require effective partnership between the public and private sector, civil society, so as we can shape well the Arab cities of the 21st century to be more resilient cities. The first is to continue with to improve basic urban planning, advance service delivery, and enhance the sustainability of Arab cities by upgrading the living conditions of the urban pool. Core steps require reducing corruption, enforcing existing regulations and zoning development, regulations and zoning, developing affordable housing away from risk zones, and ensuring equitable land tenure policy. There has been progress in developing standardized building codes in most countries of the region. Even we have tried within the League of Arab States, which is the intergovernmental body including all Arab countries, to develop common Arab building codes. So far, these codes are being used as guidelines. But with the increase of the continuing increase in informal settlements, I think we have to develop a simple building code to be used by contractors in these informal settlements. India has a very good experience in this regard, and I think we have to benefit and build on it. Also, we have to promote the green architecture principle, which means the science and art of performing the buildings and settlements in harmony and compatibility with the surrounding environment. The old Arab architecture is a very good example for green agriculture, and I think we have to develop it to adapt to our modern needs. To implement urban planning successfully, we need to develop a decentralizing decision-making process and to better coordinate the roles of central and local governments and increase the participation of private sector, civil society in urban planning. Already several countries have started on that track, and Morocco is a very good example. The second set of actions responds specifically to climate risk. We need to develop and build on what we have already, a very good early warning systems to identify, assess, and monitor risk. Also, we have to undertake a vulnerability assessment to identify critical infrastructure and risk-prone zones and their exposure to climate hazards, identify resilience options, and compare with them. As example, for instance, with regard to transport systems, we need to rethink first so that we can ensure that they do not block natural water channels, contribute to flooding, and second, to ensure that they act as safe evacuation routes or shelters during flood. But most importantly, we have to develop publicly accessible and reliable information and analysis related to resilience, provide human, technical, and other resources and services to support resilience, build climate resilience through social protection and other measures. And I think I have to add to that also that we have to have the financial resources, the required financial resources, and this we have also to tap on what is available on the international arena. Thank you. That's all. Thank you very much for hearing.